Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions related to chapter 2, unit 3 of business economics, that is related to supply, we discussed about what are the determinants of supply and what is the law of supply, what is the difference between movements on the supply line or what is the shift in the supply curve when each of that happens, and most importantly the elasticity of supply, how to calculate it, basically the price elasticity only, how the change in price of a commodity will have an impact on the quantity supplied, can be calculated using percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price, or it can be calculated even using arc elasticity method or point elasticity method also, taking an equation. We have discussed how to calculate the elasticity of supply under different circumstances using different methods. But now, after the demand and supply both theories we have separately discussed, the time has come to merge them to one point, and that's what we actually call as market, which is definitely a combination of both demand as well as supply. So whenever we say a market, so that is definitely having a demand also and supply also. But when can we say the market has a equilibrium price? So what is this equilibrium price? It is the price where the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. Sir, will it happen? How can it be exactly matching? Not possible. Everybody knows that. Exactly it will not match. Once again, theoretically, when we can say a price has an equilibrium price is when the quantity demanded and quantity supplied is exactly same. It will definitely not be exactly same, but the way market forces work will be in such a way that always it will try to reach the equilibrium. That is what we should understand. We should not think that already equilibrium is achieved. Equilibrium never will be achieved. But how the market functions, how the market will behave, will always be in such a way that it will try to reach the equilibrium at any point of time. It is a direction towards equilibrium, but not the destiny itself. That's what we should understand. So when that equilibrium will be achieved, if at all it is achieved, when the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. In simple words, that is the intersection of both demand and supply. Or in simple graphical terms, we can say where this is the demand curve and this is the supply curve, where these two are intersecting, that is the equilibrium price we are talking about. And naturally, this is the equilibrium price, because price is always on the y-axis, quantity is on the x-axis, we know that. So this is the equilibrium price where the quantity demanded and quantity supplied both are same. Naturally, yes, this is what happened here. At this point of time, the quantity demanded and quantity supplied is same, that is Q, let us say, and the price at which the quantity demanded and quantity supplied is same, that price is called as equilibrium price. We can express it in different ways, but ultimately what does this mean? It means it is the price at which the quantity, again amount is not a good word, the quantity that the buyers want to buy is equal to the quantity that sellers want to sell. So what buyers wanted to buy is what is called demand, and what sellers wanted to sell is what is called supply. When demand and supply both are equal, then we say that is the price as equilibrium price. Only at this price both buyers and sellers are satisfied. And we can also call this as a market clearing price or market price. Normally that is the price at which the deals are happening daily, though it is not necessarily that always it is equilibrium. But when we are going and buying certain product in the market at a certain price, you are going and buying a soap at 20 rupees in a supermarket. Why are you buying? Because you are willing to buy, you have the capacity to buy, and you are ready to pay 20 rupees for that. So you are buying, that means you created a demand. And while the seller is keeping it in the supermarket, right from the manufacturer to the wholesaler to the retailer, finally it came to the supermarket, finally, that is the retailer. So it has crossed so many states after it is manufactured. So much of process happened before it reached to the supermarket near your house. But all this process, what it has created? Simply that has created supply. Means the seller is willing to sell at that price, buyer is willing to buy at that price. Then only you are buying. Imagine if the seller is willing to sell it at a higher price than what you are willing to pay. Then there will not be any matching between demand and supply. So the point is, in general, whenever we say equilibrium price, that is what is perceived to be market clearing price also, or a market price also. Whatever is prevailing in the market is presumed to be equilibrium price. But once again, we should not get into wrong notions that because at this price the demand and supply are equal. They will never be equal. They will never be equal in reality. That is the limitation of the market economy. That is the limitation of the capitalist system, what we discussed in the first chapter. Because there is no proper planning at a central level, the pricing mechanism is left to the market. So at a one point of time, definitely it looks like that yes, this market price is the price where buyer and seller both are happy, both are satisfied. But that does not mean the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied at that price all the times. So there will be a lot of stock which is unsold and a lot of stock which the sellers wanted to sell, but still they could not sell. But since it is all part of supply, we can say that supply is there. But demand may not be there to actually buy all the goods which are supplied. So the mismatch between the demand and supply is an eternal problem for the market economies or capitalist system that we have to keep in mind. While keeping that in mind, we have to also understand when there is a price that is prevailing in the market, that price is indirectly indicating that it is the price which the buyers are willing to pay and it is the price at which the sellers are willing to sell. Then only deals are happening in the market. Then only some purchases and sales are happening in the market. If there is no buyer, if there is no demand, all that supply is useless. Not necessarily it is going to have any value to the suppliers until the buyers actually buy it. But it constitutes supply. Supply includes goods offered for sale. But until and unless it matches the demand, it will not generate any revenue to the suppliers, and naturally it will not generate any profits to the suppliers also. So this mismatch is always going to be there. Supply and demand quantities mismatch, that is there. But price definitely is the price at which the quantity demanded and quantity supplied are equal. Theoretically, that's what we call as equilibrium price. Right? And how this price can be found out? Again, theoretically. Don't think that we can fix prices for all the products by knowing equilibrium price theory. That is not our scope. So theoretically, how this market price can be determined? Simply, where the demand and supply matches, that itself is the equilibrium price. And that is the central theme of the microeconomic analysis. So microeconomic analysis sometimes is also called as price theory. Because ultimately, all the microeconomic principles that we have been learning related to demand and linked consumer behavior and the theories related to supply, they will all culminate here at this concept of equilibrium price. So what happens here? Let us understand this table. This is the important concept. In exams also questions will be asked, and logically we should be able to understand in real life also. There are various possibilities here. What happens? Let us see. Let us say if the price of a particular commodity is of 5 rupees, quantity demanded was only 6, but quantity supplied was 31 units. We are talking quantities. In other words, supply is more than demand. Supply is more than demand. When the supply is more than demand, how the price will move or how the price will have an impact from the market? As I said, market will always try to reach equilibrium, and in its pursuit of reaching equilibrium, what kind of pressure the market will put on the price here is it will put a downward pressure or impact on the price. In other words, when the supply is more than the demand, less people are ready to buy. Lot of goods are there offered to be sold. Why will you buy at that 5 rupees price? You will not buy. Quantity supplied is too much. Everywhere there are stocks. Nobody is buying. Very few people are buying. So how the pressure will be there on the prices? Naturally, what the suppliers will be forced to do? The suppliers will be forced to reduce the price. There is no option for them. Then they may reduce the price to, let us say, 4 rupees. Okay, because the price is reduced, the quantity demanded will definitely increase. But at the same time, the quantity supplied will decrease, we know. When the price reduces, the quantity supplied also reduces. Because some suppliers may think 4 rupees is not going to be feasible for me. I will not supply, I will not manufacture, I will get out of the market. How many companies will get shut every year? How many manufacturing units, how many businesses, how many traders will close their businesses every year? Because they are not able to sustain in the market. They will go out of the market. In the sense, to that extent, the supply will get reduced. Because the prices have reduced. When the prices have reduced, observe carefully, demand has increased, naturally as per demand theory. Supply has decreased, naturally according to supply theory. But still, even in this case also, the supply is 25 units, demand is only 12 units, still supply is more than demand. So there will be a further push or actually pull of the price downwards because supply is more than demand. So in this particular circumstance where the supply is more than demand, what can we say? The impact on the price will be downwards in these two cases. What is more? Supply is more than demand. In other words, demand is less than supply. If it is a very long period, it happens like that. That's what we call recession. That's a macroeconomic concept. We don't need to go into that. But that is not a good sign for any economy. Supply is more, demand is less. So the impact on the price will be less. Means downwards. The market will try to take the price towards the equilibrium price where the supply and demand will be equal. And now comes our equilibrium price. And what is that equilibrium price? That is 3 rupees. At this price, imaginary example, quantity demanded and quantity supplied both are same, 19 and 19. That's what we call as equilibrium price. If the market reached that, it will stay there only. It will sleep and it will not do anything. There is no push or pull to the price. Exactly, that is what the market wants. But will it be there always at equilibrium? Definitely not. It will try to reach equilibrium because of the mismatches between supplies and demand, or mismatch between the quantity supplied and quantity demanded. And naturally, if the quantity supplied is more than quantity demanded, market will put a downward pressure on the price and it makes sure it will reach equilibrium. That is the tendency of the market. Once again, not that exactly it will happen. But now that it has become already at equilibrium, just imagine if the price is further reduced to 2 rupees further. Then, since price has reduced, again demand will increase and naturally supply will further decrease. But what is this situation? This situation is where the demand is more than supply. That means people are all craving for that commodity, but it is not available. And they are all asking for the commodity, but there is no supply of it. Then naturally people will be ready to pay more price for that. So what the market will do? It will put a upward impact on the price. So from now onwards, the market will try to go back to the equilibrium by increasing the price. It will not try to reduce the price from 2 to 1. It will try to increase the price from 2 to 3 because 3 is the equilibrium price. Same way, imaginary. If the price is reduced to 1 rupee, then demand is too much. Lot of quantity is demanded, but supply is not that much because suppliers are not interested to sell at that price. So when demand is more and supply is less, naturally the push is upwards on the price. So naturally what happens in these two cases where there is a upward pressure on the prices is when demand is more than supply. So wherever the demand is more than supply, naturally the prices will go up, and wherever the supply is more than demand, the prices will go down. But ultimately they try to reach the equilibrium price of 3 rupees. So in this case, how much is the equilibrium price? We can say 3 rupees is the equilibrium price, wherein the quantity supplied and quantity demanded both are same. That is 19 units. So quantity demanded is also 19 units and quantity supplied is also 19 units. Both are equal. That is when the equilibrium price of 3 rupees is achieved. But will the market be always at 3 rupees? Definitely not. When the market price, what is there prevailing here really is more than 3 rupees, the market will try to bring it down to 3 rupees. Because the actual market price really is more than equilibrium price, the market will try to bring it down to 3 rupees. If the real market price in the reality is less than 3 rupees, market will try to bring it back to 3 rupees. So it will push upwards to 3 rupees. So always the direction of the market will be to reach the equilibrium price 3 rupees. If the market price is more than equilibrium price, then naturally the market will try to reduce that price automatically. And what is the situation? Where the supply would have been more than demand, then only the price of the commodity is high than the equilibrium price. Then what if the market price really is less than equilibrium price? Then what does it indicate? It indicates the demand is more than supply, and demand more than supply pushes the price upwards. So ultimately, whichever direction it is, finally the market forces will try to reach equilibrium price, in this case which is 3 rupees. And once again, this is only an example, but the impact and tendency will definitely be there in the market. That is always true, but these numbers are only to be taken as examples. So that's what happens in case of supply and demand schedules. Both are studied together. So demand only, if you look at, as the prices are decreasing, demand is increasing, or quantity demanded is increasing. If you look at only the quantity supplied, as the prices are decreasing, quantity supplied is also decreasing. That's what is law of demand and law of supply. But now what we are doing, we are mixing both of them at the same time. We are testing both of them at the same time, and we are merging them together, and we are looking at what price will these two be equal. That's what we are looking at in this table 10. And from this example, it has emerged to be 3 rupees as equilibrium price. By chance, if the real market price is more than 3 rupees, the market will bring it down to 3 rupees. By chance, if the market price is less than 3 rupees, the market will take it up to 3 rupees. And in each of these situations, what happens, that we should remember. What is the impact on the price, that we should remember. When the supply is more than demand, the impact on the price is downwards. And when the demand is more than supply, then the impact on the price is upwards. Very important aspect of merging both the quantity of both the theories of demand and supply. That's it. So that is about equilibrium price. And from this next figure, illustration 27 also, we can understand there is a demand curve, which is this curve. This is demand curve, and this is supply curve. As usual, demand curve is going downwards from left to right. Supply curve is going upwards from left to right. And where they are meeting at this point, that is what is called equilibrium point. And what was the price as per our example? It was 3 rupees. So that is the equilibrium price. And what is the quantity here? Equilibrium quantity. That is 19 units. The same things, if you put it on graph, both the quantity demanded and quantity supplied, what is going to be the intersection point of the demand curve and supply curve? That is the equilibrium point, and whatever the price attached to that point is called equilibrium price. And the quantity attached to that can be called as equilibrium quantity. But in general, equilibrium quantity is not the word used. In general, we use the word equilibrium price. That is where we are interested in. See, quantity is what is determining the price. So important aspect here is price. And in each case, definitely the pressure will be definitely there on the market price in different scenarios. So look at this particular scenario. Observe that carefully. This scenario. So what is here? This is supply. Only this you have to look at. Only this area. So what is there here? So simply the supply is more than demand. The supply is more than demand. That means at any particular point after this, the supply is more than demand. So if the supply is more than demand, will the price stay at that point? No. So this price is a higher price. Let us take this point. This point is a point which is an indication of supply more than demand. And what happens? Will this price stay? Imagine this is something like 4 rupees or something. So here supply is more than demand. Will that price stay? No, it will not stay. It will come down from 4 rupees to 3 rupees. So ultimately, the market will put a downward pressure on the price. Downward pressure on the price when the supply is more than demand, which is happening in this region. Any point, if you take this point also or this point also, ultimately that is indicating demand is less than supply or supply is more than demand, and definitely it is going to be taking back to the equilibrium price, that is 3 rupees. Now take another portion. Let us take another portion, that is this portion. So this is the portion. And what is happening here in this portion? The demand is more than supply. So at any particular point, if we take, let us say here, whatever it may be, say 2 rupees if at all. So the demand is more than supply. So when demand is more than supply, the market will not stay same. What it will do? It will put a upward pressure on the price and make it or try to bring it back to 3 rupees. So whenever the supply is more than demand or demand is more than supply, the market will try to bring back the price to the equilibrium price, that is 3 rupees. So where the at a particular price, whatever the price it is, we can check whether demand is more than supply or supply is more than demand. Take any particular point. Let us say this is 4 rupees is one price. And what is this corresponding thing here? This is the supply and this is the demand, we can say. So which is more in these lines? Supply is more than demand if the price was 4. What if the price was 2, let us say? So when the price was 2, the supply is only less, but demand is very much high. So the pressure on the prices is to be going upwards. So whichever the point on the demand and supply curve, what we are talking about, ultimately when the supply curve and demand curve intersect with each other, that is the equilibrium price where the market will try to bring back its price, whatever is prevailing in the market. So these are the important aspects to be noted. What kind of push or pull effect the market will show on the price has to be understood on the basis of only 2 things. There is no rocket science here. If supply is more than demand, there is a pull of the prices. That means the pressure is on the price to go downwards. And when the demand is more than supply, then there is a push upwards. Then the impact on the price is also naturally upwards. That's it. That is the equilibrium price concept, where demand and supply both are at the same time looked at. Now let us quickly go through the things that we have learned in this unit of chapter 2, that is related to supply. All of the things we have discussed, just to recapitulate what has been discussed in this particular unit. Let us quickly go through the summary of that before we solve MCQs in this unit. What is supply? Supply refers to the amount, or quantity is better word, of good or service that the producers are willing and able to offer to the market at various prices during a given period of time. That's what supply means. That is the definition of supply, we can say. And what are the determinants of supply? Other than its own price. Anyway, its own price is definitely going to be one of the major determinants, no doubt. Other than that, prices of the other commodities, related goods we can say, or the prices of factors of production, they will have their own impact. State of technology will have an impact, government policy will have an impact, and many other factors might have an impact on the supply, which we have discussed earlier in the same unit 3. And what is the law of supply? As usual, when the price of the good rises, the corresponding quantity supplied also increases. So when the price of the good rises, quantity supplied also increases. And naturally, when the price reduces, the quantity supplied also reduces. So price of a commodity and the quantity supplied are directly related to each other. So there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. That's what is law of supply. Then what is supply curve? Same thing. That is a curve or graph which establishes the relationship between the supply or quantity of supply and its price. And how this curve will be, the supply curve will be normally, it is an upward sloping curve. And what is it indicative of? It is showing a direct relationship or a positive relationship between the price and quantity supplied. In other words, it is proving the law of supply in a graphical manner. Then, if we say that the supply of a good is increasing as a result of an increase in its price, so supply or quantity supplied of a good is increasing because of an increase in its price, then what we call it? We call it as an increase of quantity supplied. We don't call it as increase of supply. Or we can just call it as expansion of supply. That's okay. Contraction, expansion, those words can be used. Or we can use the word increase in quantity supplied. And what happens on the supply curve? There is an upward movement on the supply curve. Will there be any shift? No. Shift happens when the supply changes due to any factors other than price. But here what is happening? Because of change in price, the quantity supplied of a commodity is increasing because of increase in its price. Then we call it upward movement of the supply curve. And what if there is a fall in the price of a commodity? Reverse happens. That means there will be a downward movement of the supply curve. Then we can call it as a decrease in quantity supplied. Once again repeating, not decrease in supply, decrease in quantity supplied. When we say increase in quantity supplied, decrease in quantity supplied, we are talking about this change due to a result of change in price. When we say increase in supply, decrease in supply, we use that when supply is changing due to any factors other than price. That has to be always kept in mind for terminology purposes. Then what is elasticity of supply? Simply the responsiveness of supply or quantity supplied to change in the price of the commodity. When the price of the commodity changes, quantity supplied changes, that we know. That is okay. But how much it changes? Will it change too much or will it change only a little bit? How? How responsive is supply or how responsive is quantity supplied to the changes in price is measured by elasticity of supply. So elasticity of supply is the quantification of law of supply, we can say. Whatever the law of supply already says, that's what elasticity of supply quantifies and tells us a number. How elastic a particular commodity is or how inelastic a particular commodity is. So that is elasticity of supply, meaning about responsiveness of supply to a change in the price of a commodity. Then what is elasticity of supply can be classified into? We can say it as perfectly inelastic supply, and each of them we should remember. When we say perfectly inelastic supply, which means the supply has no influence of price. Price has no influence on supply. The supply is completely not dependent on the price at all. That is perfectly inelastic supply. So the quantity is always going to be same irrespective of the price. Then naturally how the supply curve will look like? It will be parallel to the y-axis. Parallel to y-axis or perpendicular to x-axis because quantity is same across different prices. Same way. For each of them, we should be just able to identify how the curves look like also. How the curves look like, we should be able to identify them. So let us take, for example, the first case we are talking about, that is perfectly inelastic supply. It definitely looks like a straight line which is parallel to y-axis, perpendicular to x-axis. That is perfectly inelastic supply. Then relatively less elastic supply. Relatively less elastic supply will be definitely a slanter line, but it will not be perpendicular to y-axis or x-axis. That is relatively less elastic supply. Relatively more elastic supply, just it will become like this. So that means it is relatively more elastic, which is little more flatter compared to the earlier one. Unit elastic will generally have a 45 degrees angle with the x-axis and y-axis. That is where the percentage of change in quantity supplied and percentage of change in price both are equal. That is unit elastic. And perfectly elastic supply, when we say perfectly elastic supply, that means that particular line is parallel to x-axis. So for each of them, definitely we should know what is the way the supply curve looks like. These are all given in the exam questions. So what can we say? Classify them as perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic supply when it is parallel to y-axis, relatively less elastic supply where the curve is little slanter, relatively greater elastic supply where the curve is little flatter, unit elastic supply where the supply curve will exactly cut the x and y axis into equal parts, that is with a degree of with an angle of 45 degrees, and perfectly elastic supply which is having a supply curve parallel to x axis. These are the 5 possibilities of elasticity of supply. And how to calculate the elasticity of supply? We can calculate anyway by using point elasticity or arc elasticity. Both are popular methods to calculate the elasticity of supply. And when we talk about a supply to be considered reference to a given point on the supply curve, naturally we use the point elasticity. And when we talk about 2 points on the supply curve, so if we want to calculate at a given point, then we use point elasticity. If we want to calculate the elasticity of supply between 2 points on the supply curve, we use arc elasticity. So these are the 2 types of methods of computation of elasticity of supply. One is point elasticity, 2 is arc elasticity. In examinations, unless otherwise asked, always we have to use arc elasticity method, that already told. Now, what is equilibrium price? Just now, as we discussed, it is the one at which both buyers and sellers are satisfied, and at this particular price, the quantity, once again, the amount that buyers want to buy and what the sellers want to sell, both will be equal. That is the price which is called as equilibrium price. That is about the summary of the chapter supply. That is unit 3 of chapter 2, the last unit of this chapter, we can say. Now coming to the multiple choice questions, most of them, lot of them, we already discussed earlier, which were related to the theory of demand and the theory of consumer behavior. Because we already highlighted them, we can identify where we have missed out or where we have intentionally left for the unit 3 of this chapter. So look at question number 20. Which of the following statements about the price elasticity of supply is correct? We need the correct statement. So first read the question carefully. Go through the statements one by one. You have to go through all of them. Price elasticity of supply is a measure of how much the quantity supplied of a good responds to a change in the price of that good. Fantastic. That's exactly what price elasticity of supply means. Yes. So should we jump to answering it as A? Don't do that. That is what I was telling. Don't jump to answer. But first read the other things. Whenever particularly there is all of the above, be very careful. So you cannot just directly jump to answer A, because it is a correct statement. I'm not telling it is wrong. It is correct. A is also correct. It's a correct statement, but is it the correct answer? Maybe or may not be. We have to read through the other statements also. Second B statement says the price elasticity of supply is computed as the percentage of change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage of change in price. Of course, yes. So A and B are correct. Definitely 100% correct. In examinations, you don't need to read C because anyway these two are correct and all of the above is there. So all of the above can be directly kept as answer. But if you just want to go through the point C also, price elasticity of supply in the long run would be different from that of short run. Yes, it would be. Anything will be like that. Price elasticity of demand or price elasticity of supply, both of them will be different in the long run and different in the short run. That is a very generic statement which applies to both supply also, demand also. That is why C also is not a wrong statement, it is a correct statement. Since all the three are correct, correct answer will be D, Delhi, all of the above for question number 20. Then we have solved many of the other questions. All of them were already discussed. Let us go to questions which were not discussed earlier related to supply unit. Yeah. Question number 45. Question number 45 says a vertical supply curve parallel to y-axis. Just now we discussed that. Vertical supply curve parallel to y-axis. What does it implicate? It implicates the elasticity of supply is naturally 0. Why? Because that is a indication of perfectly inelastic product. There is a perfectly inelastic supply when the supply curve is parallel to y-axis, and that can be just understood because irrespective of the price, the quantity is always going to be same. Since the quantity is always same irrespective of the price, the supply curve or supply line or graph, whatever we can call it, is definitely going to be parallel to y-axis. That is the answer to question number 45. Then question number 46. The supply of a good refers to what? Read them carefully. Actual production of the good, total existing stock of the good, stock available for sale, or amount of the good offered for sale at a particular price per unit of time. Which one looks the best option? Definitely D is the best statement which meets with the definition of supply. When we say supply, we are not talking about production only. We are not talking about existing stock of the good. We are not talking about stock only available for sale. Both are there. So we need to understand for a particular period, the supply concept will be there. At a particular point of time, this much stock is there. This much stock is available for sale. No, not that. So the correct description, better description, more appropriate description is it is the amount of goods, amount or quantity. Amount is used in a very generic sense, not from the money sense. Keep that in mind. Amount of good offered for sale at a particular price per unit of time. Per what? Which unit of time? It could be per day, per month, per quarter, per year, whatever it could be. Per whatever unit of time, the supply is expressed as the quantity of the goods which are offered for sale at a particular price. That's what is supply. So 46th question answer is D, Delhi. Then 47th question, an increase in the supply of a good, we have to read it carefully. Increase we are talking, increase in the supply. Are we talking increase in the quantity supplied? No, we are talking about increase in the supply, which means definitely it will be caused by any factor other than price. What is that? What could be the reason? Why? Because there is an increase in the supply of a good. First one says improvements in technology. Will it increase the supply? Yes. Second point says fall in the prices of other goods. Will it increase the supply of this commodity? Again, yes. Fall in the prices of factors of production. Will it increase the supply? Definitely yes. So naturally the answer is all of the above. So when the technology improves, supply improves. Other goods prices fall. The manufacturer suppliers will shift from that good to this good. So that also will increase the supply of this commodity. And when the factors of production are becoming cheaper, naturally the supply will increase. And vice versa happens if reverse direction is there. So each of these factors, how they influence the supply, we should be able to understand. And since all the three are having the same impact of increasing the supply, answer will be D, all of the above. That is for 47th question. 48th question says, elasticity of supply refers to the degree of responsiveness of supply of a good to the change in its what? Naturally, price. We don't have any other elasticities of supply. Only one is there, that is price. So direct question. 48th question, answer is B. 49th question, once again, supply curve shapes, very important. Horizontal supply curve parallel to the quantity axis. Quantity axis means x-axis, that we should know first. So quantity axis, x-axis, it is parallel, horizontal supply curve. What does that mean? It means the elasticity of supply is infinite. That means that good is perfectly elastic supply. That commodity has a perfectly elastic supply. If it is parallel to x-axis. If it is parallel to y-axis, as we have discussed earlier, it will have zero elasticity of supply, or we can call it perfectly inelastic supply. Here it is perfectly elastic supply, opposite of that. So we can say the elasticity of supply is infinite. 49th question, answer is B, Bombay. Then, contraction of supply. Once again, not decrease, contraction. Words are important. Expansion, contraction happens when? When price of the commodity changes, that's all. Any other factor should not be considered here. Expansion, contraction are the words used. Quantity supplied is the word used when we look at the changes in the quantity supplied only and only due to price. So, decrease in the number of producers, prices of other goods, all these things will not matter. What matters here for contraction of supply? Decrease in the price of the good concerned. Whichever the good we are talking about, if there is a decrease in the price, the supply will get contracted. What is the other name we can use for it? We can call it as a decrease in quantity supplied. So because of a decrease in price, there is a decrease in quantity supplied, which can also be called as contraction of supply. That is question number 50. Answer is B, Bombay. Then 51, 52 and all, I think we already discussed them. All are marked. 70 also, yes. 71, no. So let us look at 71st question. The quantity supplied of a good or service is the amount that, what is that? Is actually bought during a given period of time? Definitely not. That is not quantity supplied. Producers wish they could sell at a higher price. Producers can wish 100 things. That will not become quantity supplied. Producers plan to sell during a given period at a given price. Yes, that can be called as quantity supplied, where the producers are having a wish to sell also, will also, and capacity also. That's what we say, plan to sell during a given period of time at a given price. That's what is supply. So 71st question, answer is C. Then 72nd question, supply is what? Once again, limited resources that are available with the seller, is it? Or is it related to cost of producing a good? Definitely not. Is it the relationship between quantity supplied and the price of the good? Yes. That's what can be called as supply. That is 72nd question. Relationship between quantity supplied and price of the good. Actually, you can say the law of supply is a better question. Supply is not a relationship. Law of supply is what? Law of supply is the relationship between quantity supplied and price of the good. And other things do not have any meaning. Limited resources are there. Cost. We first of all don't even use the word money in this entire discussion except for price. So supply, demand, these are all quantities, not monetary items. So cost has nothing to do. Willingness to produce a good, if the technology to produce is becoming available. So only then if somebody is having willingness. That's not what we can call supply. So these are all ridiculous statements. When there is a relationship between the quantity supplied and the price of the good established, that's what supply means. That's what the law of supply means. That is 72nd question, answer becomes C. Then 73rd question. In the book market, the supply of books will decrease. Read it carefully. These type of questions are possible in the exam. You have to read each and every word carefully. Book market is okay. Book is not important. Some product, whatever it is. Supply of that commodity will decrease if any of the following occurs except. So see the two words here. Supply will decrease normally, except is saying. Means what? In one of the four following options, the supply will not decrease, rather it will increase. So which one we have to identify first? That we should know. We should identify in the four possibilities below where the supply will increase, decrease, except, both negatives. So negative to negative is positive. That means increase. So in the following cases where the supply of books will increase, that we should find out. A says a decrease in the number of book publishers. Will it increase the supply? Definitely not. A decrease in the price of the book itself. So a decrease in the price of the book itself. Will it increase the supply? Possibly. Or an increase in the future expected price of the book. So we have to also look at the demand also here, because future expected price and all, these are not related to supply. These are mostly related to demand. And even if you look at the supply, imagine if there is an increase in the future expected price of the book, why the suppliers will supply more now? They will reduce the supply now, though the demand will be more, but the supply will be curbed because of that. And if there is an increase in the price of the paper used, definitely not. So if there is a decrease in the number of book publishers, supply will definitely decrease. If there is an increase in the price of paper used, definitely the supply will decrease. So both of them are not our answers. So A and D can never be our answers. Only we have two things. One is a decrease in the price of the book, and second one is increase in the future expected price of the book. So these are the two things that we have to choose from. Technically speaking, according to law of supply, if there is a decrease in the price of the book, the supply of the book should decrease. Definitely yes. And if there is an increase in the future expected price of the book, if at all there is a increase in the future expected price of the book, the existing suppliers would not want to sell it. They want to hoard it. They want to stock it. They don't want to sell it. They will not offer it for sale. So there also the supply will decrease. So all are looking like where the supply will decrease. There is no exception looking like from the face of it. So we have to come out with an option out of this A, B, C, D, where A and D are outright wrong options. B and C are possible. B and C are possible. Let us look at option B. If there is a decrease in the price of the book, if you look at the demand side, what happens if there is a decrease in the price of the book? Definitely there is going to be a more demand created, and a more demand created might create the supply of the book also increase, because when there is a demand, the manufacturers would like to sell. So they might increase their supply when the demand is high. Or on the other side, when there is an increase in the future expected price of the book, then also the demand will rise. Then the demand will rise for sure, but at the same time, suppliers may not be willing to sell it now. Why? Because they can sell at a higher price in future. So as far as demand is concerned, both B and C will result in a higher demand. But in the case of B, there is a possibility that suppliers would be willing to encash the demand by selling more. But whereas in the case of C, the sellers might not wish to sell it at a lower price, because everybody is expecting that in future the prices might go up. So in the following all these four cases, there is a possibility. There is a possibility only we are talking, not that it will happen. So when it will happen, where the supply might increase is only possible out of the four when there is a decrease in the price of the book. When there is a decrease in the price of the books, normally as per theory of supply, the supply also should decrease. But because there are four options here, we have to choose one. There is no other way but to find out a logical answer, that is option B. A and D will be outright rejected because they will definitely decrease the supply of the books, that is directly determinants of the supply. B and C are not having only supply aspect, they have demand aspect also. In case of B and C, both cases demand is increasing, no doubt. But in case of C, the supply will not increase. Why? Because the suppliers might not want to sell it now at a lower price. They will wish to sell it in future at a higher price. But in case of B, it is quite possible because the demand of the book has increased. The supply also will increase accordingly. That is a possibility. Out of the 4 options, only B looks like a better option, more appropriate option out of these 4 options for question number 73. So these type of questions are tricky questions where all of them look like wrong, but we have no choice but to pick one correct option. Then we have to think logically, eliminate the completely wrong options first. Then, like Kaun Banega Crorepati, we should have 50-50 left. In that we have to evaluate which is more suitable to the question that is asked. In this case, for question number 73, it is B, Bombay. Now, question number 74. If price of computers increases by 10% and supply increases by 25%, elasticity of supply will be naturally 2.5. Straight question. Percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. So 74th question, answer will be 2.5. 25 divided by 10. Then question number 75. An increase in the number of sellers of bikes will increase what? Increase in the number of sellers of bikes will definitely increase the supply of bikes, that is for sure. Whether all the other things will happen or not, we don't know. May happen, may not happen. But what definitely will happen, when there is an increase in the number of sellers of bikes, it will increase the supply of bikes. More number of people in the market, more supply. That is one of the factors that influences the supply, which we studied earlier. So the correct option for question number 75 will be C. Then question number 76. If the supply of the bottled water decreases, bottled water supply has decreased, and other things remaining the same, the equilibrium price will be dash and equilibrium quantity will be dash. Again, interesting question. Supply of the bottled water has decreased. Other things remaining same means demand is same, right? Demand is not changing. What is changing? Only supply is changing. So you can, whenever such type of questions are given, the simplest way of doing it is by taking a small graph. Rough graph is enough. So let us take this. Let us say this is the demand curve and this is the supply curve, right? So supply curve, demand curve, both are there. Already it is there. Now what happened? The supply of the bottled water has decreased. So when it decreases, what happens to the supply curve? Will it go leftwards or rightwards? It will go leftwards. So earlier this was the price and this was the quantity demanded as well as supplied. Now demand is same. Demand has not changed. The demand curve has remained the same. Supply has decreased. So what happened to the price and what happened to the corresponding quantity, that we can check. What happened to the price? The price has increased. And what happened to the quantity? That has decreased. Directly, easily we can observe that. And what is the correct option for that? Question number 76, naturally A, where the equilibrium price increases and equilibrium quantity decreases. That's it. That is easy. You don't need to by heart anything. Always you just need to draw one small graph. That will tell us the story. But you have to draw the graph according to the situation. Whatever the situation tells, the correct graph you have to draw. Roughly you can draw. Nobody is going to see your rough notes. So when the demand is same but supply has decreased, original price was different. Original equilibrium point was different, which was this. And when demand is same but the supply has decreased, it has supply curve moved leftwards, which has resulted in an increase in the price and a decrease in the quantity. That's it. So the correct option for 76th question will be A. That is the correct answer. Then 77th question. A decrease in the demand for cameras, other things remaining the same, once again, will show what? We don't need to look at every time using only graphically. Sometimes we can just understand from the options available also. Even if we do graphically also, that's fine. But here there is no increase, decrease, decrease, increase, like that it is not there. So only one thing is there, which is okay. So we can just go through this. So what happened here basically is a decrease in the demand for cameras. Will it increase the number of cameras bought? Is it possible when there is a decrease in demand? Definitely it will decrease the number of cameras bought. So A is ruled out. For 77th question, A is impossible. That is absolutely not fitting. Then, a decrease in the demand will decrease in the price, but increase in the number of cameras bought. Once again, when there is a decrease in demand, how can there be increase in the number of cameras bought? Not possible. That is again same. A and B both are equally ridiculous. A is fully ridiculous, B is half ridiculous. Because a decrease in price might happen, but increase in the number of cameras bought will not happen. Then, a decrease in the demand will increase the price of the cameras. How? When there is a decrease in demand, the pressure on the price is downwards, not upwards. So C is also not possible. So naturally the only option available is D. And look at that, why that happens, what happens. When there is a decrease in demand, price will decrease. Why? Because the pressure on the price, market price, is downwards when the demand is less. Suppliers have a lot of things to sell, but nobody is buying. Then what they will be forced to do? They have to decrease the prices. But at the same time, because of decrease in demand, there is a decrease in the number of cameras bought. So both will happen when there is a decrease in demand. That is point number D. Answer is D, Delhi, for question number 77. Then question number 78. If good growing conditions increase the supply of strawberries and hot weather increases the demand for strawberries, then the quantity of strawberries bought, where it will be having some kind of impact, is asked. So what are the two things here? For increase in supply, there should be good growing conditions, and when there is a hot weather, that there will be an increase in demand. Then the quantity of strawberries bought will be dash. So read the options. First one says the quantity of strawberries bought increases and the price might rise, fall, or not change. That is 78th question. When there is a possibility of quantity of strawberries bought increases. Definitely yes. Why? Because when the increase in supply also happened, increase in demand also happened. Both happened. Increase in supply and increase in demand. Both of them have happened at the same time. When demand also, supply also, both will change at the same time, definitely the price will increase. Definitely the quantity of strawberries bought will increase, because quantities, both of them are increasing. And whereas the price is concerned, there are multiple possibilities that might rise, fall, or not change. Why it will happen? Because first of all, there is a increase in supply. There is an increase in supply, no doubt. And when there is an increase in supply and increase in demand simultaneously, which one is more? How do we know? Which one is more? Imagine if the increase in demand is more. Increase in demand is more than increase in supply. Then that's a good thing. The price will rise because of that. Imagine if increase in supply is more than increase in demand. Then the price will not increase, the price will decrease, because supply is more increasing than increase in demand. Imagine if increase in supply and increase in demand both are same, then the price will not change. So the point is, when there is an increase in the supply, also when there is an increase in the demand, both are happening at the same time. If they are happening at the same time, one thing for sure is the quantity of strawberries bought is increasing. That is for sure. This is guaranteed, no doubt. But what about the price? Price we cannot exactly tell with this information. Why? Because if the increase in demand is more than increase in supply, the prices will rise. If increase in supply is more than increase in demand, the prices will fall down, because the supply is increasing faster than demand, and supply increasing, demand decreasing means naturally that is a downward pressure on the price. And when both are same, increase in supply and increase in demand, the prices may not change. That will be remaining same. So that is a point to be noted here when we talk about increase in demand and increase in supply both happening at the same time. So correct answer naturally for this question will be A, because it exactly tells what happens when there is an increase in demand also and increase in supply also of one commodity, whatever it is, that is strawberry. So the quantity definitely increases. Price might rise, might fall, or will not change. And how it might rise, how it might fall, when it will not change. These are the three possible situations we are talking about. So in any of these possible situations, the prices might have their own impact. If increase in demand is more than increase in supply, the prices will have upward pressure. If increase in supply is more than increase in demand, the prices will have downward pressure. If both are equal, the prices will not change at all. So that is the point when both supply and demand change simultaneously. These are the various possibilities that we are talking about. When we have both demand curve and supply curve at the same time. When there is an increase in supply also, increase in demand also. Both are happening at the same time. Then what happens to the equilibrium? Price is a point we are talking about. There is a detailed discussion on this particular aspect when we discuss about different types of markets in a later chapter, that is chapter 4. But it is commonsensical. We can understand this from this simple logic of when the increase in demand is more than increase in supply, naturally there will be a upward pressure on the price. When the increase in supply is more than increase in demand, there will be a downward pressure on the price. When both are equal, there is not going to be any change in price. But one thing for sure, when both have increased supply and demand, both increased means quantity definitely has increased. So that is option A for question number 78. 79 was already discussed. 80. In a very short period, can the supply be changed? Very short period we are talking. Supply cannot be changed in the very short period. As we discussed, it will take time for supply to be changed. So answer is B, direct question, Bombay. 81st question. When the supply curve moves to the left, what does it mean? It means a smaller supply, larger supply, constant supply. Left means a smaller supply at a given price. Same price, but supply has reduced. Reduced is used in a different word. It means a smaller supply at the given price. That's what. When we say the supply curve is moving to the leftwards, that is when we say there is a decrease in supply. That is question number 81. Answer is A. Opposite of it, question number 82, when the supply curve moves to the right, then what can we say? Then we can say the supply increases. Once again for question number 82 also, answer is A. When the supply curve is moving towards right, it means the increase of supply happened. That's it. Then question number 83 is also elasticity of supply, defined like what? Responsiveness of the quantity supplied of a good to a change in its price. Exactly, we got our answer. That's what is elasticity of supply. So B is wrong. Without a change in price, it says. Demand, C and D are ridiculous because we are talking about elasticity of supply. So C and D are talking about demand. They will never fit here. Only option is A. That is a direct definition of elasticity of supply, responsiveness of the quantity supplied of a commodity due to a change in its price. Exactly, A is the correct answer for question number 83. Then question number 84. Elasticity of supply is measured by dividing the percentage change in quantity supplied of a good by what? Naturally, percentage change in price. Direct question this also. 84th question, C. 85th question. Elasticity of supply 0 means what? 0 means perfectly inelastic supply. Once again, a direct question. If it is infinity, that is called perfectly elastic supply. So this is perfectly inelastic supply, when we can call that as elasticity of supply as 0. That is question number 85. Then question number 86. When the elasticity of supply is greater than 1, when is that? 86. Read them carefully. Proportionate change in quantity supplied is more than proportionate change in price. Once again, we got the answer in A itself. So question number 86 also answer is A, because exactly that matches. When can we say the elasticity of supply is greater than 1? Numerator is more than denominator. What is numerator? Percentage change in quantity supplied. That is more than proportionate change in price. That is when elasticity of supply is greater than 1. So straight answer, 86th question also, answer is A. 87th question. If the quantity supplied is exactly equal to the relative change in the price, then what we call? Elasticity of supply as 1 if both are equal. Quantity supplied also and the relative change in price also both are same. That means elasticity of supply is equal to 1. Unitary elasticity we can call it. That is about 87th question. Then we have 88th question. So when the price of a commodity decreases from 6 rupees to 4 rupees and quantity demanded of the commodity increases from 10 units to 15 units. That's what is mentioned here. And find out the coefficient of price elasticity using point elasticity. See, point elasticity, we don't have graph, we don't have formula and all. Directly we can use the original formula. That itself is point elasticity, we can say. Any kind of data given, we can use the standard formula that is already known for computation of elasticity of demand. Actually this question is related to demand. So what is that? Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Or you can just use the original formula. Let us say delta Q divided by delta P multiplied with P divided by Q. Substitute it. Delta Q is how much? From 10 to 15. So 5 divided by delta P is how much? From 6 to 4. That is 2 rupees. Original price. So decreases from 6 to 4. That means minus 2 actually. Decreased, this is minus 2 we can say. 10 to 15 was increase. 6 to 4 is decrease. So if increase is plus, decrease should be minus. So P originally how much? Price. That is 6. Q originally how much? That was 10. Substitute it and calculate on the calculator. 5 divided by minus 2 into 6 divided by 10, or 5 by 2 into 6 by 10. That comes to 1.5 but minus. So here normally we don't worry about the sign of the elasticity of demand. Normally yes. But when the option is having minus 1.5 and 1.5, definitely which is the correct one? Minus 1.5 is the correct one. Options we have to check. If all the options are positive, then we have to understand, okay, we are ignoring the sign. But here we cannot ignore the sign because option has a perfect answer, that is minus 1.5. That is the answer for question number 88. Answer is C. Then question number 89. The supply function is given as Q is equal to minus 100 plus 10p. Find the elasticity using point method. Supply function it is, means we have to find out the supply elasticity when the price is 15. I think this is the same question which has already been discussed without any change in the numbers also. But still, if we consider using the point elasticity method for elasticity of supply with a equation of y equal to a plus bx, so that b is the slope of the curve, that's what we can even call as dq by dp. So dq by dp into p by q is the formula that we should use here for question number 89. And dq by dp is already known. That's what is 10. That is okay. So 10 is okay. That is the slope of the supply curve. P is the price which is given. That is 15. That is also given in the question. But what we should find out is Q. How much will be Q? When P is 15, so Q will be naturally minus 100 plus 10 into 15, 150. So minus 100 plus 150 will be 50. So Q is 50 units. So substitute it here. So 10 into 15 by 50. 5 times 3. So the answer is what? Answer is D, 3. positive. This is elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply will be positive, not negative. Elasticity of demand will be negative. So naturally the correct answer for question number 89 will be D, that is 3. Same thing what we have done already while discussing the computation of elasticity of supply in the earlier classes. That was question number 89. After that, some more questions were related to demand and consumer behavior. Now move on to question number 95. If the percentage change in supply is less than the percentage change in its price, then what we can call it? We can call it relatively inelastic supply. Direct question. Means numerator is less than denominator. Then 96th question. The supply curve shifts to the right. Shifts to the right means supply is increasing. When it will happen? Improved technology? Yes, it will happen. Increased price of factors of production? No. Increased excise duty? No. Because both of them will have a negative impact on the supply. But only one thing which will have a positive impact on the supply is improved technology. So the correct answer is A. So supply curve shifts rightwards when technology improves. That is when we call the supply has increased. That is 96th question. Option A is the correct answer. 97th question. Which of the following statements is correct? Correct statement we should find out. So read them carefully. First one says, when the price falls, the quantity demanded falls. Absolutely rubbish. Wrong. It will happen opposite actually. Seasonal changes do not affect the supply of commodity. That is also wrong. Definitely they will affect the supply of commodity. Seasonal changes will be there. Taxes and subsidies do not influence the supply of the commodity. That is also wrong. They will influence. And with the lower cost, it is profitable to supply more of the commodity. Yes. When the cost is lower, when you supply more and more, naturally, with the price being same, you will be able to generate more and more revenue, and lower cost will naturally generate more profits. So 97th question, correct answer could be D. All others do not have any meaning. All of them are ridiculous statements. They are not going to happen like that. But definitely with the lower cost, and if a company supplies more and more, it will make more profit. So that is profitable for the company. Is a generic statement. That is 97th question. 98th question. If the demand is more than supply, then the pressure on the price will be, direct question once again, upwards, because demand is more than supply. So A is the correct answer for 98th question. 99th question. The supply curve for perishable commodities. Perishable commodities means what? They cannot be sold for a longer period of time. So price impacts, will they have any impact? Price changes, will they have any impact on the supply? Normally, is it possible? Not possible, because already those are very perishable commodities. For example, milk if you take. Let us say suddenly the price of the milk has increased. Suddenly the supply of the milk cannot be increased. Not possible. So for perishable commodities, because their life is very short, it will be difficult for the suppliers to adjust their supply. In other words, their supply, when it is compared with its price, will be naturally perfectly inelastic, because there is no link between price and supply. Since they are perishable commodities, whatever is available for sale, they have to sell it whatever price available in the market. So price may not have a impact on the supply of perishable commodities. So that is why we can say they are perfectly inelastic. Of course, why inelastic? Perfectly, because it is short run we are talking. Sir, can't the farmers have more and more cattle and produce more and more milk in the future? Yes, that they can do. But that happens in future. But immediately, because of a change in the price, there is not going to be any impact on the supply of perishable commodities, because the nature of them itself is perishable. That means the supply we are talking about is of ultra short term, which is impossible to change the supply in that much short period of time. So they will be perfectly inelastic in supply, we can say. That is question number 99. And question number 100. Supply is what type of concept? Is it a stock concept or flow concept? It is a flow concept. We know that. Direct question once again. Both demand and supply, both are flow concepts. Means they are expressed for a period of time. They are not expressed at a particular point of time. It is not the point of time. It is the period of time that matters. That is when we say we have a flow. between 2 points. Flow happens when there are 2 points, there is a flow. When there is only 1 point, there is no flow. For a lake, there is no flow. For a river, there is a flow, because river has a starting point and ending point in the sea. So when there is a two different periods of points of time within which we call it a period of time, whatever is supply or whatever is demand expressed, those are called flow concepts. So answer for question number 100 is C. And after that, 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of them were discussed already. That's it. With that, we can conclude the conceptual, theoretical understanding and discussion related to one of the most important chapters of business economics, that is chapter number 2. There were 3 units: demand, consumer behavior and supply. We have discussed all of them, and practice these MCQs also again and again. You have to be thorough with each of these concepts. More the practice, more comfortable you will be in solving the questions in the main examination. So with that, we can conclude this chapter of business economics, and in the next session we'll move on to another chapter of business economics. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.